Hello and welcome everybody to Atoms Are Galaxies. This is the meandering metaphysics of Zarbo, your host me. Today we're going to be looking at the Protron as a monad. Monad being sort of Leibniz's word to have a cohesive whole of something. So your body could be a monad with all its individual parts amongst other bodily monads, which thus creates a monad of Earth or the solar system, or a cell can be a monad with its individual parts. It's just a complete cohesive whole. So when I say the Protron as a monad, it's just looking at it as one specific monad and not compared to being in an environment with multiple protons, which is actuality. So this is very much a hypothetical situation, let's say in a magnetic vacuum where you're just having that one proton by itself with nothing else around, because it's a whole different story when you have multiple of them. But this is a good starting point because it's a single one, and then we can branch out into multiple ones. So let's erase here and get started. You've already heard me say the Protron is a 4-brane Double Tarus. I wanted to sort of go over that a little bit more, explain sort of more in depth what it is. One first thing I'd like you to do is go down. I'm going to provide a list of links. First thing in the comments, the first one being to a documentary called Black Hole, and hole is spelled with a W, and it's Dr. Nassim Haramein's documentary from 10 years ago, plus minus. Anyways, I'll give you a timestamp as well. He has a piece of CGI in there that I think is great. It is a 4-brane Double Tarus almost. He keeps it in the third dimension, and he's talking about similar things that we are, that every atom is a black hole, and that within black holes are more universes. So it's very, very similar. It is a good watch. Once you sort of peruse by the CGI, I want you to please do watch the 1.5-hour documentary, because if you find this interesting, you will find his documentary interesting. Okay, so now that you've gone there and seen the 4-brane Double Tarus, at least from his CGI perspective, you can, and his also goes backwards too. His is funneling away from the core through the equator, and then up to the top, and then back in, where I see it going the other way. So you have your twist right here, which the twist is where the 3 energy turns into 6 energy, and vice versa. From a 3-dimensional perspective, we view this as a black hole because light can't escape there, but it's actually light going into the opposite dimension, from the matter to the antimatter dimension. So it literally is not within the realm that we can actually visualize it, at least our matter side. Our antimatter side will pick it back up and see it itself. So, because we are both this antimatter and matter person, as seen in an early episode. So you have your twist, and 6 energy is funneling in from the antimatter world and comes out of the twist, and primarily, let's say it shoots up and down. It's going to be coming out 360 spherical degrees from the twist, but the majority of it is going to be funneled up through here. It'll hit zenith and a nadir, and it'll fall back down, sort of like an umbrella and a reverse umbrella. It will hit sort of each other along the equator, and then funnel into, again, repeat the process of becoming the opposite energy in the opposite dimension. Very rudimentary, but as you can see, let's say if this is the Milky Way, you'd have huge amounts of energy being shot up. Here's the hill and everything. Remember this core, this twist, where the galaxy would be? It would be very, very, very minuscule compared to the whole monad, or the whole Protron. We just draw it bigger, so it's easily more representable. So you have all this energy shooting up, comes down, goes in and sees a twist. So as you can sort of picture this rudimentary image, and then go over and look at the CGI, and you'll see what I'm talking about by Double Tarus, meaning you have one donut up here, one donut down here. They are a little bit smushed together, so it's not fully symmetrical, as in like this. It's more like that kind of a donut. And it cycles back around. So a brief pause to get my mind set. From here, I do want to go talk about the Mobius Strip and Klein Bottle. Again, link 2 and 3 down below. Please do go check them out because it'll help you visualize everything we're about to say. The Mobius strip is the easiest one, presuming that you have looked at the picture already. You've paused me, gone over, looked at it, came back, unpaused. Fantastic. Just think about a ribbon of paper. You cut the ribbon at any point, you turn it 180 degrees and you retape it. You can put your finger on any side there, which is there only is one side, and keep on tracing it around and around and come back to your starting point. It is, if you're living on a Mobius strip, you would view it as a two-dimensional object. However, it needs the third dimension to fold into or twist into in order to have a self-repeating skin on it. And Klein Bottle is the exact same thing, except for it's a three-dimensional object twisting into the fourth dimension, so it can have one continuous skin on it. Again, please just pop over, look at the imagery, because drawing a Klein Bottle is next to impossible. Doing a Mobius strip isn't too hard. You can kind of see that that's the hoop of paper. If you put your finger on it, just use a black pen again, you're on the outside of it, you'd go around, twist, you'd be on the back side, come over and twist, and then you'd be back to where you started here. So, love the diagram. Okay, so yes, you can start to see, especially with the CGI, it's a great picture that the forebrain Double Tarus is coming into view here. And bringing up an old diagram from a past episode there, I wanted to show sort of the 369 pattern of it again and how it is holographic. So you have your twist here, and the energy comes out, and in order to twist around on itself like the Klein Bottle, it needs to go through the x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, and then back into the hole. Let me draw that a bit better. You have your twist, comes out, x-axis, y-axis, and then back into the hole through the z-axis, creating your 1, 2, and 4 out of your 3, 6, and 9, right? You have 1, 2, 4 governed by the energy of 3. You have 8, 7, 5 governed by the energy of 6, and all this sort of equates to 9. And then when you come out into the antimatter world, you'd be doing the exact same thing, but you'd be doing it in negative x, negative y, negative z, looping around and coming in. So you, or we, or our atoms, each individual atom is almost just this twist right here, which again, this twist is also the strong nuclear force, at least the energy funneling into the twist and circling around it, is basically what we are, because the aether, or the 3 energy, comes up, makes the matter world just in its curvature, goes through the twist, makes the antimatter world just in its curvature, but we're always just sort of that twist. And this is where the holographic universe comes out, is because this three-dimensional shape that we construct over multiple, and I'm getting away from a monad and I'm going into an environment with multiple monads, if you have your sort of 3 twists here, or a standard molecule with 3 elements, 3 atoms in it, you're going to have this projection of energy up here, projection of energy up here, and a projection of energy up here, as well as the minus projections. Oh, I don't know why I made that an A. Okay. So we're basically just this 9 right here, strong nuclear forces, the twists, and you're projecting out 2 images, a matter image and an antimatter image. And this is actually why we have stuff like the wave-particle duality. Is it a wave? Is it a particle? It depends, because if you're outside the monad and you're trying to view it with things that are going to repel off of it, you're going to see it as a cohesive whole. But once you can get inside of it, inside like the Milky Way, for instance, you'll notice that it's just the twist, and it's just energy oscillating on itself in a 4-dimensional brain. Well, curious. I hope that all made sense. We will skirt it again and again and again, because these are sort of the base concepts within the whole idea. So that was a protron as a monad. Another thing about this, we were talking about energy density earlier. So instead of drawing the monad like this per se, sometimes I like to do it as cones against like a base. So let's say this is 0-ish. So here you would have your sort of galaxy or gatom, right? And this is the energy density. So within the arms, you have a huge amount of energy. So every atom is going to make you 2 meters tall. But as you come out to the outside of the protron, like way out here, you're coming out here, the energy density is actually less. So this would be energy right here. You take it positive, negative. You would still think you're the same size because every atom would be the same, but all the energy is actually less. So instead of you being 1 meter tall, you would be a half meter tall or whatever, even less, but everything shrinks in comparability. So this is viewing the gatom or the protron as a monad, and it's just individual, to sort of see a future example of why this doesn't overly take place is because, like, let's say this is the Milky Way right here. And this bottom line would be space or distance. And then let's put Andromeda over here. So we have a much bigger galaxy, let's say. Comes down. So we can never actually get to an ideal point of very little energy density, because as you go in between the intergalactic space, you would come up to a meeting point, and this would be your baseline in that molecule of energy density. So it's not like you could continually get smaller and smaller and smaller, because you're going to start jumping into the next energy well of the next gatom or proton. I think this is actually a really good introductory into how we go from a monad into a multiple environment. So a good 60 seconds there, I do think. That sort of wraps up the meat and potatoes that I wanted to go over with in the episode here. As I said, I like to keep them somewhat short, just so you can brush off. I do like to give 2 shout-outs, though. 3, actually. First, Megan Jewell commented that is a friend, and she was being very nice, so thank you, Megan. Derek Pritchett is also a friend, but he made a comment there, and he was asking what we are, if the gatom or the atom and the galaxy are the same thing, which is the gatom. Then when we're looking up at the cosmos, what are we? So a couple things about this. I will make an episode just geared towards this. We're just going to jump on now. I'll look at the local cluster and what kind of particle or molecule that can be, because we're only going to be about 3 major gatoms there. We have Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum. So I'll show you the aspect ratios, or the ratios between the gatoms and what they very well could be. I do think galaxies are all within the first 10 elements, maybe 9 elements, not including neon. And that's sort of the hydrogen, because the hydrogen gatom would have 2 supermassive black holes, which we'll get to eventually as well. Whereas a hydrogen, seeing how that's just 1 proton and electron, or 1 proton, that I almost think we don't see in our universe. They're probably hidden, because they would just themselves be a black hole or a twist. I don't know if something like the Magellan Clouds just yet are hydrogens and there's a black hole hidden in there somewhere. Still wrap my head around that myself. And then the third shout out is to Gary Lebby, complete stranger, but he had some great comments to say there, and I'm going to try to make an episode just on his talks there. Maybe give him a little reach out and start chit-chatting with him, see if some more things fall out, more ideas fall out for episodes. So anyways, he was asking about time scales between gatoms. That's one of his sentences there. And just to give you a perspective, because isn't it, so let's say right now light travels around the Earth 7 times in 1 second. And from episode 1, you'd remember that we have the exact same amount of atoms in a pinhead as our galaxies in the observable universe. So our universe, would be a pinhead in some sort of super universe, and if light and light does travel around the Earth 7 times in 1 second, so you could see that light would travel past a pinhead in a fraction of 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 a second. So it's not just trillions of years passing by in an atom in my fingernail. Every now and then, like, you're talking numbers you can't even comprehend, like Googleplex of time going past these lower gatoms, gatom -1, compared to the time frames in our gatom, gatom 1. So, yeah, that also brings me up to a word or a definition I like to just drop right now, and I will be making an episode about this later. It's called intelligent evolution. It's my synthesis of evolution and intelligent design into one, because if the atom and the galaxy are the same thing, intelligence, let's use humanity as an example, intelligence will get so smart one day where they can fully manipulate their planet, aka in science fiction, Civilization 1. Later on, Civilization 2 in science fiction is someone or a civilization that can fully master their solar system, and then Civilization 3 is a civilization that fully masters their galaxy and surrounding galaxies, presumably. So it would be this Type 3 civilization that starts piecing the atoms together. They would make a cell wall. They would start making some sort of coding like RNA, try to build amoebas or viruses, bacteria, et cetera, up in the super universe around us. And eventually, through eons for them, create some sort of recurring, repetitive, self-evolving organism, such as us, to perpetuate knowledge and life and stuff in the super universe. So that would be, yes, intelligent design, because it's intelligence percolating up through the lower atoms, but it's also evolution because we designed the biology or the creatures to be self-replicating in themselves. It takes the onus and task away from the beings in the gatoms -1. I guess just the last little bullet here I have for myself, also along the same line of thinking as the sort of Gary Levy section I have here. I kind of think as light speed, 3.0 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. Yeah, it's a constant, but I see it as the time it takes for us to have a conscious second. So we need, if light travels at 3.0 times 10 to the 8th meters per second, then we need that amount of meters of light energy to have one conscious second. Whereas you could have a being that's brain is much faster than ours, that it only needs 1.5 times 10 to the 8th meters to have 1 second of conscious thought, and therefore they would actually be living a 48-hour day as opposed to a 24-hour day. A couple sort of examples how you can start empathizing with this. If you've ever been in a near miss or an accident or in sports competitions, your mind can, you think it's slowing down, but it's speeding up. Your thought pattern slows down. You almost have like 2 seconds per every second, and you can see somebody's muscle twitch in their leg knowing that they're going to take the soccer ball around another way. You're slowing down your mind, which in turn is actually speeding up the energy, so you're processing more. So very, very neat subject to get into, and we will eventually. So let me get this onto the web, and we'll go from there. So again, please comment below, questions, curiosities, concerns, anything you like, and we'll go from there. So until next time.